there. As living beings, we are hardwired for survival. We're motivated towards life. But as we all know, sometimes the painful conditions of life can overrule that hardwiring, and instead we become motivated towards death. Feeling suicidal, having suicidal thoughts, attempting suicide, or committing suicide are all symptoms. They're symptoms of a deeper underlying cause, a root trauma or wound. It is that root trauma, that underlying cause, which needs our unconditional presence. Now, before we dive right into this episode, I want you to know that I'm going to be talking to you today not just from the standpoint of a spiritual teacher, but also from the standpoint of a survivor. Suicide is something that I've grappled with over the course of my life. Since I was a child, I've tried to commit suicide 4 times. So if anyone can understand the torment of the place that you're in right now, I can assure you that it's me. I'm going to tell you what most people tell you, which is that if you're genuinely suicidal, contact a mental health professional or check yourself into a hospital. This is an option if you really feel like you can't trust yourself not to kill yourself at this moment. So I'll leave that judgment to you. It may very well be the best decision for you at this time. But I also know from personal experience that being admitted to a hospital because you're suicidal is just enough to make it so that those extreme emotions pass, so that impulse to kill yourself passes. But then in the future, oftentimes it can come back. I also know from personal experience, this is just speaking for myself, not one time over the course of all of the mental health professionals that I met did I meet somebody who could actually help me address the underlying cause of those particular suicidal feelings. And so they continued to come back, and I attempted suicide again in the future. That despair that seems absolutely unsolvable is the very reason that you're contemplating suicide today. Here's the thing. I'm not going to be like every other person and freak out right now because I'm so scared of death that I have to convince you that death or suicide is wrong. I'm not going to be like every other person and try to sugarcoat life for you by trying to sell you on the good points of it and tell you that your life is going to be all okay. Because the reality is, from where you're standing, you have absolutely no proof that that is true. I'm also not going to be like every other person and tell you that you have to live. Why? Because I'm so scared of losing you and I need you around, and so I'm going to talk to you from that self-centered standpoint. Instead, I'm going to get really, really real with you. Right now, you do not have proof the earth is anything but suffering, and you have no reason to believe that it will get better. And you're right to feel this way. You aren't wrong about your perspective. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. Right now, you're in more pain than you can cope with. Suicide is nothing more than pain exceeding your pain-coping resources. A lot of what is making you want to kill yourself right now is the belief that on top of feeling so much despair, there is something wrong with you for feeling that despair. This causes you to feel more despair and ultimately turn on yourself. But from the standpoint of a spiritual teacher, I'm going to tell you that there is nothing wrong with you at all. Anyone in your circumstance, in your experience, would feel exactly this same way. Chances are, if you even clicked on this video, even from inside this isolated torture chamber that you're living your life inside, there's an infinitesimal speck inside of you that actually wants life instead of death. So what I need from you is not even to want to live. You don't need to feel that way right now. What I need you to do is to try what I'm going to suggest in this video instead of trying to commit suicide at this moment. You are currently in a crisis or an emergency peak of emotional pain. So here's what I want you to try. Number 1, you have to know that you can always kill yourself tomorrow. You can always kill yourself in 5 minutes, in fact. Now, what does this do for us when we actually acknowledge that this is the case? It makes it so that suicide can be our safety net that's always available to us. Why is that important? It means we can set suicide aside, because it's always an option, long enough to focus on the 5 minutes that's right in front of our face, or the hour or the day that's right in front of our face. I want you to live with this in mind. I can always commit suicide tomorrow, so what can I do with today? Or if tomorrow seems too large of a timeline, make it, I can always kill myself in an hour. So knowing that, what can I do with this hour? Then use that hour or that day to focus completely and totally on quite literally anything that makes you feel a tiny bit of relief. Know that your body responds to pain. in a way that makes pain feel two specific ways. The first is that you're alone in that pain, that nobody else could possibly be feeling the way that you're feeling. It's that kind of isolation. Two, that it will never, ever end. Neither is true. There are people on this planet who are going through exactly what you're going through. I'm a perfect example of one such person. But if you don't believe me, I want you to just do something really quick for me. I want you to look down below this video at the amount of views on this particular video. Did you create every one of those views? Or is it quite possible that there are other people who are concerned with this exact issue and who are feeling suicidal right now? Maybe they're on the opposite side of the world. The point is, they exist. In your life, what you've learned is that happiness is transient. It always goes after it comes. But what your pain is doing to you at this moment is it's convincing you that the pain is never going to go away. Pain functions just like happiness. It's every bit as transient. Even though it has a tendency to convince you that life's always going to be this painful when it's there, the reality is it's temporary. If you didn't do anything at all about it, this feeling would eventually pass on its own. Consider that your thoughts and feelings come and go like messages from somewhere deep within the universe, but you do not have to believe them. They may seem true, but just because something seems true does not mean that it is. Just ask a magician. You cannot know 100% that this pain will never end, and you cannot know beyond a shadow of a doubt that no one else experiences this exact same thing. So, you can believe these painful thoughts are true, but you cannot know they are. Your pain may just be creating an illusion. 3. Right now you feel as if you're trapped inside of a torture chamber. Everything inside of you is screaming for your attention. That's what pain does. Pain is designed to cry for attention, so we will focus upon it. Why? Because it's a red flag telling us that there's a problem. So what do we need to do? We need to expose the pain within us to the light of consciousness. Right now you feel like you're drowning in a vat of poison. What you have to do is to release that poison. You have to express the way you feel in any way that calls to you. Some people prefer to sing. Some people prefer to yell it out. For me, my favorite method for dealing with this is writing. You have to become conscious of your own pain and understand it. Chances are you can see other people smile and seem happy, but it feels like you can't even touch that happiness. You feel an unbearable isolation. So first, express the hell out of these emotions. Expose what's going on to the light of your own consciousness and then to other people's consciousness. Express how you feel and why you feel that way. Imagine you're emotionally vomiting. 4. If you're suicidal, there's an unmet need that you're currently unaware of, and that is for other people to see your pain. This is why it is so incredibly critical to involve other people in that particular process. In fact, a huge majority of why we want to commit suicide is so that people will finally fucking get how much pain we're in. Express what you've discovered in the previous step to someone else, but you've got to choose wisely. You may have a lot of people in your life right now who are so afraid of pain themselves that they will only enhance the feeling of loneliness and make matters worse. They'll make you feel like something genuinely is wrong with you. And yet again, it isn't. So involve someone who is capable of being fully, unconditionally present with your pain. If you feel like you don't want to use someone who is in your life already, know that I have personally trained a group of facilitators who are experts in doing just this. You can subscribe to my newsletter. The link is below this video in the description. At the bottom of each newsletter, I have a list of these facilitators. You can look through the list and let yourself be drawn to whichever one resonates with you the most and reach out to them. Alternatively, you can reach out for someone's presence on befrienders.org, which is an international organization that provides support for anyone who is suicidal, no matter your time zone. 5. Right now, you feel trapped in a state of complete powerless hopelessness. In other words, you feel like you're in an intolerable situation where there's absolutely no solution. Anyone who feels like that would obviously want to kill themselves. I mean, who the hell wants to stick around for a life that feels as if it's completely hopeless? But what I want you to realize is that hopelessness, or this feeling of complete despair, functions a lot like a spider web. The more you try to resist it and get out of it, the more deeply entangled you become. So what does that mean? It means right now, I don't want you to focus on anything positive. Don't you dare write a single affirmation. What I want you to do is just stop where you are, right in your tracks. Death is nothing more than a halting of all forward momentum, and from that place we find we desire momentum, and so, after death, the only place to go from there is towards life once more, and so here is the dominant question. Why leave? Why not do the most with the life that you have already built, the things you've acquired, the stuff you've learned, as opposed to starting over from scratch? Some part of your soul wants to be here, otherwise you would not have come to this life in the first place. What did this exercise teach you that you really want out of life that is different than the life you're currently living? So far, you've been passively committed to life. It's a bit like you've had one foot in and one foot out. Most people make the mistake of thinking that just because you're here in life, you're committed to life. Nothing could be farther from the truth. You're never going to make the kind of life that you want to live unless you're willing to completely commit to life itself, the same way that your soul originally did when you came to this life in the first place. Consider this your recommitment process. Your innermost being may be putting you in this horrible crossroads so as to force you to stop being passive and to make a choice to align with your original intention for being here by completely committing to life. The last time I myself started to contemplate suicide, I had this kind of a realization, that I was straddling the fence of life and death. I was only partially alive, in fact. I realized I had a choice to make. I get to either commit to death or I get to commit to life. No more being in the middle. So what I did is, because suicide was always an option, I decided that for this moment, I'm going to commit 100% to life and do everything I can with what I have from where I am. This is the only way, I realized, that I could create the kind of life that I actually wanted to live, as opposed to the one I always wanted to escape from. It was really nothing more complex than the decision, I'm all in, and caring more about how I felt with the minute I had in front of me than I cared about anything else. I started to make decisions in my life according to the criteria of whether it felt better, and nothing else. 7. When you're in this amount of emotional pain, it is critical that you reel it the hell in. What I mean by that is stop thinking about the future, just drop it. Imagine it doesn't exist. You're going to literally think only about the 5 minutes that's in front of your face. What can I do in these 5 minutes that makes me feel a tiny bit better? And when you finish with those 5 minutes, what am I going to do with the next 5 minutes? You can keep extending this timeline according to how much better you feel, to the degree of your own capability. But I don't want you thinking about the future. Right now, it's quite simple. All you have is now, and all you have in the now is the option of thinking and doing something that feels better, or doing and thinking something that feels worse. If you simply choose the step in front of you that feels better, and then the step in front of you that feels better, you can cover some serious emotional distance from this place of complete despair. Only after you have found a tiny bit of relief and that extreme urge you have to kill yourself has sedated a bit, can you consciously focus on putting even a little bit of energy towards feeling better. And what I want you to do when you reach this point of relief is to go very, very slowly. To begin with, it's going to feel more like you're distracting yourself. I want you to do anything that just feels a little bit better. For example, turn on some music that makes you feel a little bit better. It might be a good idea for you, if you're a suicidal person, to even make yourself a list of music that helps you to feel that feeling of, oh, guess what? The entire world may not be pain. For me, I decided when I was suicidal that was dinner jazz. Maybe watch a stand-up comic or a movie, sit in a salt bath, go on a walk. Distract yourself from your thoughts with anything that causes you to feel a hint of relief. Then when you feel ready to really dig into consciously improving the way you feel, you can watch 4 videos on my YouTube channel. The first is what to do if you feel hopeless. The second is the self-soothing process. The third is how to feel better. The fourth is how to raise your frequency and increase your vibration. 9. The bottom line is, if you're suicidal, you have a terminal illness. That might seem interesting at first, but hear me out. Just like a terminal illness, if you don't treat this issue that's going on with the utmost care, it is going to result in death. So what I want you to do is to act in life the same way that somebody with a terminal illness should act. Here's what I mean. Treat your life with the same approach as you would if you were terminally ill. What would I tell someone to do if they were terminally ill? I tell them to stop in their tracks. I tell them to reevaluate their life. I tell them to make every minute of their life about how they feel. I tell them to start doing things that they have on their bucket list and to literally quit doing things that they think they have to do that aren't adding to their happiness. You may have a list 5 miles long of things you think you have to do, but would those things really matter if you were dead? Would that sparkly clean house or college degree or promotion really matter if you were dead? The bottom line is, when we are terminally ill, priorities change, and they change into what they always should have been. The absolute gift of surviving a bout of suicide is that you can make this change in priorities without being physically ill or dying. You have more of a shot at really living life than most people ever do. If you knew you were going to die tomorrow, what would you do with today? If we want to be happy in our lives, all of us, especially you, need to start living our lives as if next year may never come. 10. When and if you ever feel ready to create a lasting resolution so that these suicidal feelings and impulses don't return, then what you have to do, when you're ready, is to dive deep into the shadow, to become conscious of the wound that is in fact the causation of the symptoms of suicidal ideation. Once you are ready to do this, it's time to explore why you are feeling this way, to get completely present to, aware of, and understanding of this wound that exists within you. When you're ready for this step, I have a series of videos which is available to you, which will help you to peel back the layers, to find this primary wound, and to find resolution for it. The first video is today's great epidemic and how to solve it. The second video is the emotional wake-up call. The third video is how to heal the emotional body. And the fourth is nervous breakdown, what to do about a mental or emotional breakdown. I have in fact created a process which is designed specifically to heal the underlying causes of these symptoms of suicidal ideation, suicide attempts, or committing suicide. So, this particular process is called the completion process. I've written a book that actually offers this process to you. It is quite literally titled The Completion Process. It is slated for release in the fall of 2016. So I highly encourage you to purchase a copy of this book and to start applying the process to your life. It may not seem like it right now, but there cannot be a problem without there simultaneously being a solution, because in a universe of polarity, one cannot exist without the other. So I can promise you that a solution absolutely does exist. And it may not seem like it right now, but if you were to take yourself out of this life, it would have a massive impact on other people. It would create a devastating ripple, which would create serious amounts of pain amongst the people on this planet, especially those who are close to you. You're an essential piece in the puzzle that is the picture of life on this earth. I can assure you that it does matter whether you're here or not here. Now, I can understand that that might be exactly what you want. Maybe exactly what you want is to create that kind of pain in other people because you want them to feel the kind of suffering that you've been going through. Maybe what you want is to do this so they can finally see how much pain you're in. And that's completely understandable. I know that's exactly where I was. They will see and feel that pain if you kill yourself. But the sad part is, you won't be around to feel that feeling of being seen. You won't be around to experience that impact. You don't want to die. What you want is an end to your pain. And right now you're thinking that the only way to end that pain is to kill yourself. But what if that wasn't true? What if you weren't alone in this? What if you weren't alone with your pain? What if there was an end to this pain? And what if, instead of trying to hurt you, your pain was instead desperately trying to cry out for your help? maybe then your life might just be worth sticking around for.